Hello, Tuesdays with Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Tuesdays with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. And now your host, Brian Tally.
Welcome back to Tuesdays with Tally Podcast, where we add real-life value to the lives of everyday people. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Anchor FM, and Spotify. Simply search Tuesdays with Tally. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to get every episode and stay up to date with the latest and greatest our guests in this show has to offer. Today, we thank our show sponsor, Chase's Choice. Now, I want to tell you about their company, and they're based out of Canyon City, Colorado. Chase's Choice is an industry leader in cannabis and hemp products and continues to heal those in need. Whether you are struggling from physical pain, anxiety, depression, or having trouble sleeping, there is a product for you that will improve your quality of life. Ken, the founder of Chase's Choice, continues to engage in open conversation on the benefits of cannabis and hemp, CBD, CBG, CBN, THC, and all of the other cannabinoids found in the plant through extensive research and development. To learn more, visit Chase's Choice online at chaseschoice.org. That's chaseschoice.org, or call Ken directly, 719-994-0141. That's 719-994-0141. And CBD was Chase's Choice. What's yours? Folks, remember to always consult with your doctor before starting any alternative medicine products, and always check with your state and local municipalities on the laws regarding the use of hemp and CBD products. Today, I proudly wear my cannabis shirt, Ken Abyss. That is the owner of Chase's Choice. His name is Ken. I think that's a very clever way to market. Again, I've got my CBD products right here, and they help me every day. 60 days ago, I began this journey with his products, and they are certainly helping me every day. We also come back on the air for the first time doing a podcast, and in 1 week, my dear boy Rocky, my best friend, my black lab of over 12 and a half years, had a stroke 1 week ago today, and I've been his caretaker for a week now, and he's doing so much better now. And the prayers and all the messages that I've that have been pouring in have been sincerely heartfelt, and we're very grateful for that. And I've also started Rocky on some CBDA products, and the CBDA is definitely helping him as well. So Ken, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts here on the Tuesdays with Tally podcast. Thanks for the shirt, and thank you so much for the CBD products. It is certainly working and doing magical wonders in my lab. Now, folks, today we celebrate day 152 on this brand new podcast, and Christopher Martini is going to be our 99th episode. 99 episodes in 152 days. Now, like Chase's Choice and the other show sponsors that we had over the last 152 days, you could be one of those folks. If you're a business owner, if you have some gear, some merchandise, if you have a service that you want to get out to the general public, if you have an event, a concert, whatever it may be, advertise that right here on this podcast. Let me help you reach your goals. Let's put a marketing plan together. Let's develop a strategy and take your business to the next level. Now, folks, the Tuesdays with Tally Facebook page and all my other platforms, we have some great folks that are tuning in every single program, and we've got awesome engagement. Again, if you want to get your stuff out there, hit me up. My email, thetallybill@gmail.com. That's thetallybill@gmail.com. Now, folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. Christopher Martini is no stranger to the program. He is a filmmaker, director, producer, and he specializes in special projects such as veteran and first responder documentaries, movies, and music videos. Christopher has become a staple in the military, veteran, and first responder community, giving the voiceless a voice through his award-winning productions. In his latest documentary, The Relentless Patriot, Christopher digs deep into the life of Scott LoBaido. For 30 years, Scott LoBaido has been a voice, fighting with you and for you on so many issues, promoting and celebrating old glory, those who serve and our great American way, using art, heart, and passion. Now it is time to tell his story. The good, the bad, the ugly. They got him to where he is today, advocating as a giant voice for you, the American people, through the unusual suspect of art. Now, an inspiring American story of art, patriotism, and activism told with tons of stills and video footage from Scott's extensive career that will surely blow your mind. After 30 years, the story must be told, now more than ever. This is a wild ride film like no other and a call to action at a time like no other. This documentary will definitely fire up the patriotic passion in the American people and will give Scott the grand scale stage to encourage all Americans to join him as he continues to be your voice as big tech and the media at large fight to erase the American people every day. And with that, we are honored, finally honored to be joined by Christopher Martini himself. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Brian. Thank you for having me on the show again. I appreciate it.
Look, you are a tremendous champion in the veteran community. And I know we've got so much to talk about the Relentless Patriot. The official trailer just dropped about a week ago. But before we get started into that, I want to let everybody know the other work that you're doing out there right now. Now, you just released a very exciting and impeccably done music video titled MOH by Blackbird Anthem. You shot this music video. You portrayed Vietnam in a pasture in Texas, and it is beautifully done. And you know, and it was all done to help promote the Medal of Honor Staff Sergeant. The recipient of the Medal of Honor, Staff Sergeant Don Jenkins. Now, I know you had a lot of people involved on this project. You had so many volunteers. And folks, you want to see some of Christopher Martini's work, go check out that music video online. It's MOH by Blackbird Anthem. Again, it was done in honor of Medal of Honor recipient, Staff Sergeant Don Jenkins. And while you're there, check out another new music video that's being released real soon. He may even have a trailer on that titled Dear Mom by singer-songwriter Shannon Book. Now, connect with Shannon and his music at Shannon Book Music anywhere on social media. And he's doing some great work, folks. But right now, we're going to dig right into the Scott LoBaido story. Now, Christopher, what inspired you to begin this Scott LoBaido documentary that you're soon to be released?
Well, this goes back before the pandemic. I had a production company in Midtown Manhattan, and we were making a lot of corporate videos to make money, and in between doing personal projects, COVID hit. We had to shut that company down. So my wife was pregnant. I was pretty much sitting at home, wondering what I was going to do next. And, this is when, the COVID hit and the George Floyd riots were happening. And I was very disturbed, that our cities were being destroyed, and that kind of helped, push me into wanting to delve into political subjects. So I started to shoot a docuseries, and I started interviewing journalists, politicians, anyone with a political voice. And one of those interviews just happened to be Scott LoBaido. So it was funny because my landlord actually put me in touch with him because they both live in Staten Island. So I went out and interviewed Scott in Staten Island, and it was a very long interview and with a lot of good material. And incidentally, I ended up using that interview in the documentary. I shot 2 interviews with Scott that I used in the documentary. So right after that interview, I asked Scott, or actually Scott came to me and said, I need a documentary made about my life. And I quickly realized that by telling Scott's story, I could essentially deal with all the subject matter that concerns me and that I'm interested in, because Scott's career encompasses almost everything that I care about. So I could continue my body of work about, veteran related subjects, but it also allowed me to venture into a new topic, which is sort of law enforcement and restoring the respect for the law enforcement, our police it's been desecrated in the last 2 or 3 years. And rewriting that narrative, because we're at great risk of losing recruitment in law enforcement across the country, and you have a lot of like amateurs that are getting into it, and we're losing some of our best people. The NYPD cops are retiring at record amounts, and so part of my mission in film is to help restore the love and the respect for law enforcement. And so, but not only that, so Scott has been a conservative artist, surviving as a conservative artist in New York, which is no easy task. And he's, for 30 years he's been doing painting flags, doing political art, satires, and also activism. So he gets out on the street. So one of his first protests was it's in the film, it was at the Brooklyn Museum, when they were using public funds to basically attack Christianity by showcasing a work of art that desecrated the Virgin Mary. So that's another aspect, is the attack on Christianity. So when something goes wrong, when Nike took down the shoes with the Betsy Ross after Kaepernick tweeted that it was racist, Scott was there in front of Nike headquarters protesting. So he is essentially defending the flag, defending our core values, defending our founding religion, which is Christianity, defending the Pledge of Allegiance, defending cops, veterans, the list goes on and on. So through this film, I was able to deal with so many different subjects, and Scott just happens to be a crazy, wacky artist that I like hanging out with. So I've been following him around for 3 years making this film. My father was from Italy and was an artist, sculptor. So and I did a documentary about my father called The Tree of Art, which is on Amazon. So I have a love for artists, a passion for telling stories about artists as well. So it ended up being a really rewarding project.
From what I've seen and heard out there, and again, I watched the trailer that just dropped. And folks, I encourage you to do the same. Go to YouTube, type in The Relentless Patriot, and you will watch about a 4-minute trailer. And it is eye-opening, and it will draw you in. And let me tell you, when this gets released on all platforms here soon, hopefully very soon, I will be all over this, because I believe it's about a 1.5 hour documentary Again, it's one of those buckle in, put on your seatbelt, grab your popcorn, and sit down and want to be entertained and also inspired by the work that not only Scott's done, but the work that Christopher Martini and his work has done and putting together this film. Now, by telling Scott's story, you can essentially be telling the stories of millions of other Americans through perhaps how they feel. They may have the same feelings as Scott LoBaido, and he's the one that's doing a lot of the dirty work that a lot of other people don't want to stand up and say. Because they may be afraid of losing their job or, whatever it may be. So I think what you're doing is very important, and it's painting a different side. It's showing people what it's like to be on the other side and what's going on. And hey, we're not all crazy, right? We're just trying to say, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what, Scott is doing about it. Now, he is a very outspoken man. He is a guy who is not afraid. I mean, he will drop the F-bombs and he will give it to you straight. There's no uncrossing those T's or undotting those I's. Again, Scott LoBaido was Scott LoBaido. Now, he's been doing this for 30 years, but really over the last three to 4 years, he's really gotten big in the art that he's doing throughout Staten Island, New York City, Brooklyn, Queens, whatever it may be. He's from that part of the country. Now, he's also been arrested multiple times. Do you dig into the arrests and perhaps the reasons why he's been arrested when he's been out doing these types of protests and what he believes is right?
The arrest part of it is really funny because, Scott painted the blue line in Staten Island when de Blasio was painting Black Lives Matter in the street. And then de Blasio tried to shut Scott's, blue line down by issuing him a summons. Scott asked de Blasio if he had a permit to paint Black Lives Matter. He said no. So then Scott said, well, I'm not taking mine down. And then it ended up staying. So he kind of won that battle. So, Scott actually is loved by NYPD here in New York. And when he gets arrested, they do it like, hey, Scott, good luck. And then they arrest him, because he's arrested for the right reason. I asked Scott, at the beginning of this, I said, if you do not get arrested for my film, we have no film. You have to get arrested. So he ended up getting arrested. We did a protest in front of the DA Alvin Bragg's office that you'll see in the trailer. I hope you show the trailer, by the way. I don't know if you have a way of doing that, but yes, so, he walked up to that protest. He was going to pour blood all over the street. It was a protest right after, 3 cops were killed in the Bronx. A woman was on in front of the train. A 12-year-old girl was shot. These are by career criminals that are let out on the street, that are walking around with stolen weapons, and so the protest was this catch and release policy by the DA's office. So Scott walked up to the DA's office. All the cops outside said, kick some butt, Scott, good luck. And they kind of, let us do this, because it's a public it's an art installation, public protest, and knowing that they were going to arrest him. So, he has the full support of law enforcement, I would say. So, and Curtis Sliwa has a great line in this documentary, which is like, if they don't keep the criminals in jail, they're not going to keep you in jail, So, so that's pretty much the extent of Scott's getting arrested. And he's gotten arrested, since he started protesting this thing. He's been arrested a million times.
So does he have a target on his back now more than ever when it comes to his activism? Even if he doesn't go out there and really break the law, Is the government more trying to silence him because of what he is trying to do, and that's to paint the American flag on these buildings that they give him permission to paint?
Well, I wouldn't say the government's going after him, but he has been censored by Facebook. I think now Instagram kind of leaves him alone. But he has been censored on social media. Has been silenced. His posts taken down. When Scott painted a giant flag of Nancy Pelosi tearing up the Constitution, kind of demonically, and his followers printed out a giant banner, and like we're walking this thing around DC, and right after that, Scott's Facebook was shut down. So it's a reality that we as conservatives have to face. I mean, there were people sharing my trailer on Facebook and getting disinformation notices, and it's like, give me a break. Give me a break, because if you watch this trailer, it's showing love of the flag, love of our veterans, love of our law enforcement. How is that disinformation? It's completely ridiculous. So, it's already starting to happen, with our trailer, and, people who usually get a lot of activity would share our trailer and then suddenly get no engagement, just weird errors and messages and pages not appearing. And it's really bizarre. It's a really bizarre thing, but it's a reality. And we have to keep, as patriots, keep pushing forward. The title of the movie, The Relentless Patriot, it's twofold. It's that Scott's life in the arts has been relentless. His patriotism has been relentless, but the Relentless Patriot is also a call to action for Americans to, relentlessly defend our flag and our core values, and our sentinels that protect us, the veterans, law enforcement, so Americans need to relentlessly protect these things. And we have to remember what our veterans, what our military has fought for, what people have given their lives for. And if they can relentlessly defend us in that way, then we as Americans have to relentlessly defend them, but in our daily lives, by protecting these institutions in any way we can in all of our chosen fields. Mine just happens to be film, so it's not going to be easy by any means, because but we need to risk. If people are risking for their lives for us, then we need to show a little courage and risk in the same way in our own chosen fields.
What type of feedback have you gotten on your trailer so far?
Amazing. I mean, I think even though we're fighting the algorithm, we've gotten 10,000 views in 6 days, which is pretty good, because I've noticed in the past 5 years that any patriotic content gets very little activity. I mean, I've seen my trailer Trooper, which was my first film about a returning Iraq vet, blew up when I first put it on YouTube. But then and then it kept going. But in the last, ever since Trump got elected, that trailer has just hit a dead still, it just doesn't move anymore. So 10,000 views in 6 days, tons of comments. We're already getting approached by, people, with names, with followings that could help get this distributed. So we're already kind of taking offers at where to take this. So it's actually doing really well. You're interviewing me. I've had, I was on Ed Henry today. And so it's gaining momentum, and I'm not worried at all. This is going to find its proper home and deliver a message to the American people that have not gotten this kind of content, that have been starved with films that actually reflect, our values.
Mm-hmm. Folks, we are being joined by Christopher Martini. He is a filmmaker, a producer, a director, and he has been relentlessly working for 3 years on the Scott LoBaido story. Now, after 30 years, you thought it was time to tell the story of this artist and this activist who you dubbed the Relentless Patriot. Folks, I urge you today, go to YouTube, Google the Relentless Patriot, the official trailer, Christopher Martini by Triple Martini Productions. Now, I tried to figure out a way to play this on here, and I don't have the actual raw video itself, so I can't play the link off my StreamYard. So I want you to go there today. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be the best 4 minutes of your day. You're going to watch this, and you're going to be like, I want to watch this whole thing. Well, that's fine, because it's coming out very soon. And by following Christopher Martini on social media, and by following Triple Martini Productions, and going online to triplemartiniproductions.com, you will be in the know when this drops. And when it does, I'm telling you, it's going to turn some heads. It's going to create a dialogue. And it's really, 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 again, going to start a conversation in this country that needs to be had. And that's about the American Patriot. That is about the Relentless Patriot. That is about the Scott LoBaido story. And it will be told. And it will be told in a way that will make sense and will hopefully be meaningful to everybody that sits down and gives it the hour and a half that it deserves. Now, you will have pushback on this. I mean, let's face it, right? You will have some sort of pushback on this. Now, are you prepared to take on that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything of a political nature that's not skewed left, that we as conservatives are, I think that on social media they're gonna come after us. Scott gets he keeps all those people around, but I usually kind of get rid of them. But he when we were during the filming of this, he was actually attacked in a restaurant by somebody who didn't agree with him, who called him a racist. So with every great thing comes a little risk, and so I'm not worried if I think you'd be surprised, though. I think that this will attract some people on the left who are curious to see, our side, or, curious to see how this guy survived in the arts, being a conservative. I mean, that's really interesting. And, a lot of people will watch it, I think, just because they hate what Scott stands for, and but look, a little controversy is a good thing for a film, and being political is actually a good thing for a film. My father, who did sculpture and painting, he always said that he always was urging me to embrace politics in my films, because he said politics will make it current. It will make your film current about issues that people are dealing with right now. So I'm not worried. I think ultimately this film will bring people together, because when you watch it, you'll see that by the end of the film that we need to come together, mm-hmm. and we need to stop demonizing each other. And that part of the reason why I made that is because of the false narrative that's being projected against conservatives, as if we're all racist, we're not good people, we're lacking empathy. that we don't see forward. All of these are, false generalizations. So I'm hoping that this film destroys that narrative. I'm hoping everything that I do in film moving forward destroys that narrative. So yeah, I'm really excited to get this out.
The work you do is impeccable, and I'm a fan, and I mean that wholeheartedly on everything you do, on the way you hold yourself, the way you present yourself, your movies, the characters, how everything just unfolds between your movies, your documentaries, your music videos. And again, this is no different. And when I was watching this trailer, the first thing that came to my mind is, when is this going to be dropped and released? Do you have any information that you could perhaps share with our listeners on when this release date comes? Because I can tell you right now, we're going to have people from this program. They're going to go right to YouTube. They're going to Google the Relentless Patriot. They're going to give that trailer a watch, and they're going to want to know, hey, when can I watch the full version of this? Well, what can you tell us about that?
Well, people have to understand that we're not that we are the underdog here. I mean, I'm sure they have an idea, but they may not be fully aware how Hollywood, who owns the streaming networks, the distribution outlets, theater chains are kind of going away now, but they own essentially everything. And they are not going to want to push this story. They're not going to want to get this out. So we have to either convince a streaming network that, to take a risk and show this movie. I mean, the fortunate thing is that, like, at places like Netflix, the numbers are going down, and they're realizing that by pushing, like, these woke films, that it's not, that their algorithms are wrong, and the American people, many of them, want something different. So, I think we're coming in at an interesting time when, we might have a shot at these places, because, people are just tired of watching the same thing, but yes, so, being the underdog, people have to help us get this out there. So go to my YouTube channel, Christopher Martini, watch our trailer, The Relentless Patriot. Comment, like it, share it, get your friends to share it. I mean, if we're able to get this out there on a big streaming network, this may open doors not just for us, but for other conservatives to start telling their story, and so that that we can, the films that are going out there will represent a greater cross section of the public. Go to my Instagram page, Triple Martini Prod. Follow me there. Follow Scott LoBaido on Instagram. Go to scottlobaido.com. Go to my website, triplemartiniproductions.com. Start supporting people that are trying to tell the kind of stories that you want to hear. Because if you don't support us, we're gonna wither away and not be able to tell these stories. So that's my greatest concern, is that conservatives are conservative with their money, conservative about what they support, but we need to go all out and support people in the arts that are conservative, that are trying to reshape this narrative. It's we need all the help we can get. That's the bottom line. But look, I'm not worried. As I said, we're getting great response on this trailer. This trailer really hit home, and people want to see this. And we're getting calls by big people already. But if you keep sharing the trailer, if it gets more views, gets more attention, maybe somebody with a huge following is gonna land across it and share it, and it's just going to spiral out of control, then we may just land a big network that can get this film out to everybody. I mean, it's like, aren't you tired of seeing like movies that are anti-American? Wouldn't you like to see movies that promote our veterans, our law enforcement, the flag, our Constitution, our founding religion, our core values? I mean, you can't sit at home and complain about these woke movies and not do anything about it. Start watching our movies. Start supporting us. That's it's really, it's grassroots. So you ask me, when is this coming out? It's going to come out. I know it will, but we need a push. That's the reality of it.
Now, look, you have become a pioneer in the Patriot movement, with your work that you do out there. And I know it takes a great deal of courage. It takes a great deal of courage, and what you're doing. And again, I highly respect how you're doing it and the professionalism that you show every single day in a part of the country where that's really frowned upon, the American flag and conservatism and smaller government and pro law enforcement and pro military and pro veteran and all that stuff. That's very important. Again, it goes back to the core values on who we are as Americans. Really at the end of the day, Scott is another one of those guys. He could be one of the founding fathers of the Patriot movement for all we know, because he's been at it for such a long time, telling his story and how he feels, his feelings through art. And boy, is he a great artist. And you will also see that in the trailer as well. This guy does impeccable work. Again, I use the word impeccable because that's exactly what it is. And that trailer, you will understand once you see it. It's going to be like, I got to put this on my list of things to watch. Now, I know you're out there, you're getting some big calls from folks. You're trying to land this. What is your perfect scenario? What is Christopher Martini's perfect scenario for the landing spot, if you will, for the Relentless Patriot, whether it be a network or streaming platform?
I see. I would hope that a network like Discovery, might take a shot on this. We're gonna have to do another version for TV that's slightly shorter. So I think, I can see it. I can see the film on Fox Nation. So in an ideal world, a TV release, and then the longer film, we would love for it to go to Netflix. We would love, I think Amazon, my films are on Amazon. I can, they're relatively easy to get it on Amazon, unless they don't like the content, and then they can easily, take it down, which has happened before. So the big streaming networks like that, and then, a foreign distribution deal, some, markets in other countries. There are some countries like the Netherlands that they love anything military, and but there's also a lot of countries that don't like us, that would watch it just to see, what this is all about. So, yeah, in an ideal world, that kind of a distribution plan. I as a filmmaker, I grew up shooting films on film, back when we shot them on actual film. I've made a few films on film. So I love the whole theatrical process. It's the filmmaker wants to see his film in a theater with many people, but unfortunately that's becoming a fading reality. And I did a theatrical on demand. I got my film in some theaters, Trooper, my first film, and it was great. And I also had a distribution deal at the time through the Army and Air Force exchange. So it went to some military bases, and for that we had to get an MPAA AA rating. And but theatrical, although it's every filmmaker's dream, is almost an impossible push these days, because everyone is at home watching it on their giant screen, streaming it. And so it's really hard to get people out of the house. So anyways, I would say TV and streaming and some foreign sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your first feature film, Trooper, as you were just talking about, is about a returning Iraq War veteran. And that was a phenomenal show. As a matter of fact, I have 2 copies of it. One that was addressed to somebody else and one that was addressed to me. And I think one day we did a little horse trading in Seals Bay. And hey, I'll give you a book, you give me your movie. And I went home and I watched Trooper. It was amazing. And folks, you should too. Go watch the movie Trooper. And it even earned Chris the Renaissance Man Award at the 2011 Garden State Film Festival. So the work he does, I mean, it's certainly award winning, and he puts everything he has, his mind, his body, his spirit, his hard work, his dedication, his determination, his drive, everything he wakes up with every single day with that passion and that purpose is what he puts the work to share and put this on public display for all of you guys to sit down and witness. And that's exactly what he's done with this Scott LoBaido story. That, folks, this is going to be a head turner. This is the real deal here. And once you see that trailer, you again are going to be fully engaged in watching this complete production. It's going to be about a 1.5 hour film, movie, documentary, whatever you want to call it. But all this through the lenses of one of New York City, Staten Island, that part of our countries, through the lenses of one of the most iconic and, artists who's also an activist. He's a relentless patriot. And again, there's what you see is what you get in Scott LoBaido. He'll tell you how it is. He's an F-bomb dropping, New Yorker, if you will. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be very good. It's going to be very interesting. Now, you had mentioned, maybe get this out to the international audience, the foreign audience. And it's like, and you're right, the majority of them don't like us. They would probably love seeing this division. And frankly, man, that's quite embarrassing to know how other countries are looking at us these days. As the United States of America, we can't even get our shit together. And this is what's going on the streets of America. And I bet these people are looking at us like saying, what is going on over there? What is going on? I mean, have you ever thought about that too, on what our perception is right now from all these countries and all these foreigners overseas that are looking at us as typically we're the ones that are setting the example, and we're far from doing that these days.
Well, yeah. I think what's going on is, people who are trying to set the stage for essentially the destruction of America, in favor of sort of, a globalist world order. And as crazy as that sounds, every day I wake up and I tell myself, that this is not happening, but everything that I see that's going on. And, I started to interview, this libertarian for my docuseries that I started shooting, and who's a globalist, free markets, open borders. And the more I read it, the more I realized that this is true. This is really happening there, and we as conservatives like to look back. We're a little more nostalgic, and that's our way of preserving the good things and moving forward. But to see America destroyed, there's a lot of people that are not going to sit back and let that happen. And for me, I feel like my grandfather was a World War II veteran. People fought and died to give us what we have, and I'm not going to throw that away for some globalist agenda to create one currency, it's been seeping. I think it's been seeping into our society for a long time. I worked in the ad world, and I really felt this in there, because it's I felt always kind of something was off when I expressed sort of a love of country, and they didn't give me pushback fully, but they I felt this like unsaid resistance. So I think this globalist thing has been brewing for a very long time, and now we're seeing it come to fruition.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that have sat idle and have watched this go on for really a generation now. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it does take great patriots like yourself, to stand up and for you. Look, you're a filmmaker in New York. I mean, that's not an easy walk to stand up against the grain. I mean, you're that one guy in 100 that's saying, no, man, there's something here. It's not right. And I'm not going to just follow these other 99 because that's the status quo. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to do my own, I'm going to look at the big picture here, and I'm going to create and I'm going to draw my own conclusion. And that's where you give the voiceless a voice. You give so many people out there who want to say what they want to say, but they can't say it because, again, they're afraid to lose their job or friends or their social media status or whatever it may be. And again, it takes a courageous man like yourself who's probably lost a ton of money in your career because you have decided to stay away from the things that you don't believe in. Again, you talk about core values. Well, there's some right there. I would rather lose money and sleep well at night knowing that this is what I believe, and I'm not going to be sold out to make a buck over here to do something that I don't believe in, that I don't believe is in the best interest of my country or the American people. And again, what you're doing, it's great, and I look, people are going to go to YouTube today and they're going to look up the Relentless Patriot and they're going to watch this trailer. Now, is there anything that you can give our listeners out there, say a 30-second elevator pitch from the director himself to kind of really set that hook on our listeners today?
A pitch to hook in people to watch the movie?
To get them engaged, to get them involved, to get them to watch the trailer, to get them to talk about it, to get them to create that dialogue, to get them to start talking to them about their neighbors, to create, again, this dialogue on, hey, have you seen this Scott LoBaido story that's coming out? Wow, it was magnificent, and I can't wait for the show to premiere. And again, it's having those conversations. It's sitting down at the same table with folks that you may not be in agreement with on a lot of things in our country, but to sit down and at least start the conversation on what Scott LoBaido's story is and what it's all about and how far it's come down, and what sort of pitch can you give our listeners out there to really get them involved and engaged and standing up?
Well, I think we're really close at losing our country, and I think that this film is a call to action for Americans to wake up and start pushing back, not violently, but pushing back, resisting this narrative that that we're a bad country, that we're systemically racist, um that because otherwise our children are going to grow up in not respecting our country, not loving our country, wanting to be in other countries, not being proud to be American. And we're gonna slowly see our country go down the tube. I mean, it's crime is out of control. So if you want to live, if you want your children to live in safety, if you want to live in safety, then every single topic in this film is trying to preserve something that is very important to our foundations. So, watch this film to see what those things are that are important and worth preserving, so that we don't just throw everything down the tubes.
Mhm.
That's the thing. And if you're on the left and you don't agree with us politically, you should still watch this film to see our side. I'm watching, I watch all kinds of movies and stuff that I don't agree with, so I'm very well informed with that alternate reality. I mean, I made a film on an Indian reservation without even knowing what woke was. That was a long time ago. It was just simply a story that I wanted to tell, because I knew that I identify with veterans, the plight of veterans. I also have, a very strong heart for Native Americans, and sort of, because I know that history, so it's like, and I think I told a really nice, story that told the Native American perspective that they actually showed on PBS. It won a bunch of awards, so, like, that's the other thing, is like, we know what you're fighting for in terms of social justice. We get it, and it's the right thing to do. But, if it's at the expense of, you know, attacking our sentinels, our guardians that keep us safe, then we have a problem. And then we're, now we're living in an unsafe country. So watch this film if you don't agree with us, to see our side, to see what we're, this is why we push these points, these talking points. When you watch, this is not just, stuff that we're repeating from Fox News. When you see this film, you're going to get a more in-depth understanding of why we love the things that we love, and we want to protect them. And so that's it. And it's a call to action. We need to be relentless. We're going to lose our country unless we relentlessly protect it in each aspect of our life,
Sure.
in each of our professions.
Yeah, and like you said, look, there's injustices out there, and there is. Our country's not perfect, but look, folks, again, there's a way that you can stand up against injustice and fight honorably. I mean, I'll use me as an example. I mean, I talk about veteran injustice. I mean, that's some of the most underserved folks in a very vulnerable and at-risk population in our country are the veteran community, and talk about injustices that are going on every single day in our country, that are going on at the VA or whatever it may be while serving active duty military. There's a way to stand up against it, and that way is to fight honorably. Now, there are a lot of bad actors out there who are trying to destroy our country. And a lot of it isn't coming in from the United States. A lot of these folks are coming in from overseas and that are doing this from overseas, who are working behind the veil, if you will, to further divide us as Americans. And they're beginning to change the hearts and the minds of our nation's most vulnerable, and that's our children. And folks, we can't have our children begin to hate our country, because if we start this generation of kids growing up saying that we are bad, we are racist, we are horrible people, which is not true, we're not going to have a country. And again, there's people overseas that want to destroy who we are as a country, from the top to the very bottom. And shows like the Relentless Patriot here, it's just about one man, about what he's doing to stay, to keep that patriotism alive, to keep that, that American pride alive. And, a lot has happened since 9/11. And it seems as if a lot of people have forgotten about that, the bloodshed that, that we have lost of people overseas and all that. But I want to end on this. The work you do in the veteran community, again, you are a champion and you are giving the voiceless a voice. And like I just said about the VA, about post-traumatic stress, about veterans who are returning from combat service, who have, again, suffered great loss, life-changing events, post-traumatic stress, substance abuse. You have worked with so many of these artists who are veterans, and you're giving them platforms, and you're giving them the ability to speak directly to other veterans through music. And again, I just want to give a shout out. The music video that you did, MOH by Blackbird Anthem, was amazing. It was impeccably done. And again, Staff Sergeant Don Jenkins, I know he is so proud of that. And then also another guy that I know and love and respect, Shannon Book. You just got done shooting a music video for him that's going to be out soon. And again, dear mom, you are giving so many veterans out there that beacon of hope, if you will. And you're not a veteran yourself, but you have aligned yourself within this community because you identify well with them. And we all need our mentors in life, and we all need folks. I mean, look, let's face it. You are a professional at what you do, and you are very good at it. And veterans look to you as, as that support mechanism. And they look to you as like, man, he's a great vehicle. If I could just put my story in that vehicle, he can help drive that vehicle to where we could save lives.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you made me realize maybe I should talk about this really quickly. But I've actually just decided to start, making some online film courses, and part of my mission with that will be, I want to integrate some kind of, veteran discount, military discount, and offer a way that, people could actually sponsor a veteran to take to pay for the veteran for the course, so that they could help that veteran get tell his story through film. So, that's another thing I'm doing is I'm going to be doing an online film course that will teach people how to make a film from start to finish. Now that course is going to help me get some income so I can keep making movies. Mm-hmm. But within that, I can, I'm a really good teacher, and I love telling people how to do it. I mean, a lot of Hollywood, a lot of filmmakers will not tell you how they do it. I mean, they'll go on a master class, but they won't really get into it. It's like a magician trying to reveal his tricks. But I'm really excited about teaching people everything I know, and including veterans. So if you're having a family in the industry, I mean, my stepfather won 2 Emmys. My brother's a big actor. My sister's a costume designer. I have worked almost every position on a film set. also went to film school, and I have also acted, made my own films. So I have a lot of information to give, and since my love is with veterans law enforcement, I would welcome them to take this course. And so if anyone's interested, go to my YouTube page, Christopher Martini, same account that has the Relentless Patriot. Subscribe, follow me on Instagram at Triple Martini Prod, and send me a message with your email. I'll put you on the email list and keep you updated on this course. Because it's gonna be a lot better than other ones out there, a lot more detailed.
Outstanding. Look, we are out of time. Again, we just want to thank you for joining us today, Christopher. We sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do in the military and veteran community. The work you are doing is truly admirable.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Until next time, for Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.